Hello folks, welcome to this week's edition of the Satori Traders Precious Metals News. Gold in the monthly time frame, no changes here from the last time we looked at this chart, filling out that right shoulder of the head and shoulders pattern. In the weekly time frame for gold, we've just, we pushed up into these major resistance zones, did a pullback, and then last week, sideways consolidation, however you want to call that, positive action in my opinion. We didn't get a big drop lower, we just basically got consolidation. MACD continues to be flat in this time zone. Energy mid-level. In the daily time frame, we got some nice action. Let's see, that would have been Thursday. Yeah, so Thursday overnight and then through the day, gold decisively pushed up through the 200-day moving average and then tested the 50-day moving average for resistance. Now, price closed just a little bit below the 50, but that's a very nice bullish price bar, high energy price. And then on Friday, we got a pullback. And so price closed back below the 200-day moving average. But all in all, that's very positive action in gold on Thursday and Friday of last week. Buy signal there in MACD. Let's take a closer look. So, we really never technically got a sell signal in MACD, never got the crossover. This is kind of you might call that a renewed buy signal in MACD. And of course, we're very close to crossing up over into bull mode, where both of these indicator lines will be above zero, indicating or suggesting that the primary trend in gold is up in the daily time frame. Energy just a bit above mid-level and rising. Silver in the monthly time frame, again, no changes here. If we wanted to, we could draw out, we could call that a, flag pattern, pennant, whatever you want to call it. And I've said this before, typically these flag patterns mark the halfway point of a price movement. And so based on that, we get the basically $40 as a price target. And then again, if we use the Fibonacci extension, which that's what I'm showing here, we've got three pivot points. We've got an origin, there's a high, there's a low, and then we add the Fibonacci extension tool to those three pivot points, and it shows us that a one-for-one repeat or extension of this impulsive price movement gives us a target $39.88, or again, essentially $40. So let's see, silver in the weekly time frame, no change from last time we looked. And I mentioned that it's important to know the time frame in which you are invested, or in which we are invested. Some people might bail depending on what their trading rules are for holding a position, and more importantly, when do I liquidate? They may have bailed already. I'm in that's not the case for me. I'm okay with this action, given that, silver is certainly more volatile than gold. And as I've stated several times, if you and I were charged with managing the price of gold, we would focus most of our energy on silver, because it's a far smaller market, and if we can control sentiment in the silver market, we can control sentiment in the gold market. So anyway, here's silver in the daily time frame, and so we got price pushing up, following along with gold. On Thursday, we got this very bullish push higher. Of course, now we're dealing with resistance. Notice that we have support, fail. Now price comes back up and tests that level as resistance from below. And that test fails or succeeds. However you want to look at that level proved to be resistance, and price fell lower. Now we're back at that level, testing it as resistance again. And of course, we got the 200-day moving average acting as resistance as well. We've got MACD on a new buy signal, energy rising. We'll see, price has to push up above that resistance level obvious, and that's silver. But let's go back and take a look at gold. So, based on this strength in gold, I would suspect that we'll see silver pushing higher and pushing up above the 200-day moving average. And of course, that's my bullish bias showing through, as it usually does. I got too many charts open, folks. That's why the computer's not being very responsive. So don't typically look at GDXJ. This is my proxy for the mining stock sector in the monthly time frame. We typically stick with the weekly and daily time frames. And so I wanted to look at this today. The first thing that I noticed is this channel, as you can see, marked out. And, I like to start with clean charts. And so start with clean chart. What's the first thing that catches my eye? And in this case, it was this channel. And so here we can see, we got this peak up into the channel top. And now we've got a pullback, maybe a double bottom here potentially. I next noticed that the volume action was consistent with an uptrend. And so if we look at, here's price rising aggressively, impulsively, you might say, and volume is rising along with price. And that's exactly what we want to see in an uptrend. And then as price pulls back or consolidates, volume is declining. And again, that's exactly what we want to see in an uptrend. And so the volume action here is consistent with an uptrend in this monthly time frame. Yeah, let's keep rolling. So now down in the weekly time frame, I've given up on these channels for now. Clearly I was wrong. Those channels kept getting blown out. I noticed this morning that we now have a new lower low. And so from a technical perspective, this new lower low invalidates this double bottom. And so we have to decide what to do with that as technical analysts. And I, as a born cynic, I have to keep in mind that one of the things going on in modern today's markets is all of the markets are manipulated. And so we've got multiple factions who have an agenda to manipulate the financial markets. Certainly hedge funds and large trading houses, trading individuals, whales is typically how they're referred to. We're talking about people who can put $1 billion into play in a trading position, and that's no problem. We're sitting here playing with our, okay, I'll throw $2,000 at this penny mining stock just as a speculation. It's like, they're playing with tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in their trading positions. A whole different story. And consequently, they're able to push the markets around. One of the things that they do in order to ring the cash register, make money, is push the markets, paint the charts, is a term you might apply. They know that investors have their stops placed below this double bottom. And so using their position, their leverage within the markets, they're able to push price lower, go run these stops, buy those positions when these people with their stops, their positions get puked into the markets. The whales are there to buy those positions, and then of course they reverse price and make lots of money again. But by manipulating the markets, they ring the cash register. So it's an opportunity to cover their shorts. Basically, they get to cover their shorts down here and then buy new positions. As these investors puke their shares, the whales are sitting there. Not only are they covering their shorts, they're buying these puked up shares at a bargain, knowing that price is going to subsequently head higher. And so they also manage price to the upside because they'll strategically manage their buy orders to help or encourage price higher. So, there's a lot of games played in the financial markets. We just need to be aware of them as investors. So GDXJ in the daily time frame, very nice bullish action on Thursday and Friday. We see that impulsive gap up over this resistance zone. Just price gapped all the way over the zone on Friday, a little bit of pullback, but really, anytime we see doji candlesticks like that, it's indicative of high energy being expended in the markets. These are buyers and sellers fighting with one another, and neither one of them is able to, the sellers can't push price lower and buyers can't push price higher. And so we get this kind of a stale, we end up with a doji candlestick that looks like that. So MACD on a buy signal, histograms hinting that further action to the upside. And, notice that MACD is coming off of a very oversold level. So, this is an appropriate level for price to turn back up. I'd suggest that that's bullish action. Energy is elevated. Moving averages, moving averages, that's full-on bearish alignment. So, conflicting signals, you have to decide, am I going to interpret this as bottoming action or am I going to wait? And I don't think I said it, but back here, my opinion on this action is I'm going to wait and see for at least another week. So let's see, we just looked at that. The dollar, so of course this is one of the things that the precious metal sector is reacting to, is this strength in the US dollar. Here we are in the weekly time frame. Price is pushing up into resistance at the 93 level. Now that may have been the peak, week prior to last. We can see that price pushed all the way up into the median line of this Andrews pitchfork. And, if you're not convinced yet that there is validity in Andrews pitchfork, just notice how we're in the weekly time frame here. And so, price doesn't just, doesn't get pushed around in the wind like it does in lower time frame. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 weekly candlesticks where price pushed into that median line of that pitchfork and then pulled back. And to my eye, that is that median line. And if you want to be, we could be very correct in our grammar, our English. So that median line is not technically acting as a resistance level. It is indicating to us a resistance level that price is reacting to for whatever reason. But that's complicated to say, and so it's a lot easier to say that median line is acting as resistance. And so that's the way I say it, and that's the way you'll hear practitioners of Andrews pitchfork saying it, is that median line is acting as resistance. This past week, we got a pullback from the 93 level back to the 10-week moving average, and price bounced from that level, still on a buy signal in MACD, histogram hinting that price may be headed lower, energy clearly elevated there. Let's keep rolling. I got too many charts open this morning. This is the dollar in the daily time frame. Let me get rid of this. This is the Fibonacci extension of this. There's our 3 pivots again. There's our origin, high, low. We apply the Fibonacci extension tool, and so we can see there was a 1-to-1 at 93.49, 93.50. We didn't quite make it there. This high is at 93.19, and then we got a price pullback. And so let me get rid of that tool, cluttering up the chart there. So clearly in this last week, we got a drop below this price channel, drop below this. I think that's the second median line extension of that pitchfork. Got a drop below on Thursday. Friday, we're getting a little bounce, testing that median line extension from below. Energy in the tank. MACD still in bull mode, suggesting that primary trend is up in this time frame. Here we are. This is the yield on the 10-year note in the weekly time frame. I'm still assuming that we got a bounce on the 78% fib level, follow through, energy in the tank. MACD still in bull mode. So in my mind, this is still just a pullback in an ongoing uptrend, long-term uptrend, weekly time frame again, and we will see a resumption of that movement to the upside here in the daily time frame again on the 10-year note. This is my proxy for the interest rate. A lot of volatility, a lot of choppiness. We've got this support resistance zone, got price or interest rates, bouncing around that level. Let's keep rolling here. A lot of charts to get to. This is Bitcoin. This was last week. We got a short covering rally. It was inspired by Elon, speaking good things about Bitcoin. Haven't gotten the follow through yet. Notice that volume has dropped off. We didn't get follow through on volume. Price was unable to push back up through that resistance level. We've got energy elevated. It's certainly got energy to move high. MACD moving into bull mode. So still, bullish indications in Bitcoin, and yet as a Bitcoin or crypto cynic, I have to point out that that's a short covering rally. Elon got on the stage again, yet again, and ran his mouth. Bitcoin rallies, no follow through. Regulators are looking at Tether. Just more and more evidence stacking up that Tether is pure fraud. And assuming that comes to light, we'll have to see what that does to the rest of the crypto sector. So. And if we looked at, I forgot to have it open, folks. I was looking again at a chart. I showed it last week. It's the market cap of Tether versus the price of Bitcoin. And as soon as they stopped creating Tether out of thin air, Bitcoin stopped going up. And so that's this 12 May mark that I've got on the chart. So that's when they stopped creating Tether out of thin air. So, and we can see what Bitcoin has done subsequent to that. Let's get into, these are the equity. We pushed up above 4,400. This is SPX in the daily time frame. Sideways consolidation. Friday, we got a drop below that level. Doji candlestick, a lot of energy there, and dropping and closing below the 4,400 level. So not positive action. MACD, this is just not bullish action in my opinion. These equity markets are just so overbought. Hard to say what's going on at any given moment. Again, Dow still struggling to work higher, overbought. Energy is elevated. Nasdaq, new highs. Now we got a pullback. This is daily time frame, potentially finding support on the 20-day moving average. Yeah, there's the equity markets. This is Brent. I just kind of keep an eye on this out of curiosity. So pressed back up into 76 this past week. Got a pullback going on right now. MACD on a buy signal in bull mode. Energy elevated. So all of that suggesting that oil could head higher if it wants to. Now we are into the mining stocks. This is, and so one of the things I'd like to point out this week about the mining stocks, and so I think I pointed out last week that when we're looking at the mining stocks, we can see the ones that are performing in contrast to the ones that are not performing when the metals are, not doing great. And so that was last week. Well, so now we've had, gold rallied by, I think it was $33 on Thursday. That was a big bump in the price of gold, and silver was, I don't know what it was, 60 cents, something. Again, I don't care. I'm not interested in what silver did on any given day. I'm in it for the long term. But anyway, when the metals rally like that, we can look at the mining stocks and we want to see that they responded accordingly. And if they didn't, we might put those stocks on the list of, hey, I'm going to potentially prune this stock from my portfolio. And so anyway, here's Lion One, and we can see we got some nice action in Lion One last week. That there's Wednesday, we get a bump up over the 50-day moving average. Price closing at, closed at 99 cents. The high was 99 cents. Yeah, so price closed on the high on Wednesday Thursday, we get another push higher up through this resistance zone, and then price closing, above the close from Wednesday. And then Friday, we get, some follow through. So nice action there in the price. MACD has moved up into, are we all the way in bull mode? So not quite in bull mode yet. So we got one indicator above zero, second indicator not quite above zero yet. So not full on into bull mode, but notice that the trend in MACD is up. Currently on a buy signal. Stochastics, energy elevated and rising. Of course, you can't rise much, can't get much higher than that. That's a bounded indicator. Accumulation distribution, investors, showing renewed interest in this stock potentially. I'm going to stop at 30 minutes. We're at 25. So, and then it'll compress when I run my software on it. Ethos Gold is interesting. So penny mining stock, we're at 42 cents is where we closed Friday. If you're a breakout trader, clearly this is breakout action. More conservative traders or, speculators, investors, whatever hat you want to wear, we would wait for price to pull back to the breakout level. So, ideally we'd where's my drawing tool? We'd wait for a price to come back there, and that's where we'd buy in. So, and coincidentally, that's the 40-cent round number. We'd come in there for press up to, 50 cents or so, or hold it for longer term than that. Obviously there was a lot of buying and selling action. A lot of volume occurred last week in this stock. So anyway, one to watch. This is Quentin Henney property. Energy elevated, MACD, overbought, way overbought. So interesting, I'm not sure that I've ever seen accumulation distribution spike like that. So that's kind of interesting action to me. Let's keep rolling. Let's see, what do we got here? Again, I got too many charts open. That's why we're seeing this lagging action. So Gatto's, still kind of pushing higher, sideways consolidation. What I really wanted to point out here, and let me emphasize, folks, I'm not, by any means, I am not picking on this stock. That's not my intention at all. I just want everyone to be aware of that one of the things that goes on in the world of stocks, and I assume that this is true in all sectors, it's certainly true in the mining sector. When institutions take new companies active, they IPO, however you want to look at it, they help a company go live on the markets, attract investors to their stock listing. Those institutions typically get compensated with shares of stock, and so, large blocks of stock. And so the way that they get compensated is that they subsequently sell those shares. And so when I see this kind of action in a U.S. listed stock, came on the market at $6 so that institutional buyers would have access to it. If you'd list at $4.50, if you had listed the stock at $4.50, institutional buyers wouldn't have had access to it. So you list at $6, institutional buyers have access to it. The institutions that helped this go active, and again, I'm not saying that this is what happened with Gatto's. I'm just giving a hypothetical example of one of the things that happens with stocks in all sectors. So the institutional houses that helped this stock go active, IPO, they're sitting there on their large blocks of stock, and then they trickle those shares out into the market. Or if they get a big price spike like this, they take advantage of it and sell into that price spike. And so you can see, so somebody took advantage of that price spike, somebody took advantage of that price spike. Here we are at the $20 level, and somebody, big time took advantage of the $20 level, and maybe at this point just gave up. And it's like, to heck with this stock. We're not able to push it any higher. Let's just cash out. And so we see it here. Somebody, a big block of shares got divested there. So, and again, I'm not saying that that is true of Gato Silver. I'm just using this particular accumulation distribution indicator as an example of what can happen with newly listed stocks. Let's keep rolling. B2 Gold. So, I have a small position in this stock. We're in the weekly time frame. So we see prices, there was my bullish prognostication. Clearly that didn't happen. I've ridden this position down, down. Here's price, pushing back up, testing resistance. Now it was support. Now we're testing it as resistance. I'm assuming that price will push back higher, and most likely I will liquidate my small position in B2 Gold at this level. We get price pushing up into, the upper channel, upper boundary of this channel, this horizontal support resistance level. It's about, 480, 475 somewhere. I'm probably going to bail on B2 and reinvest those funds elsewhere. Endeavor, nice bullish gap higher last week. And again, what I was saying, this is the kind of action we want to see based on the action in the physical metals, and here's the stocks jumping higher. Dojis are always indicative of high energy, which is a good thing in a bull market. If you're a bull, if you're a bear, it's another story. Gold, so this is a Quentin Henney. I was looking at this again this morning, so let's acknowledge, first of all, that we're talking about a 15-cent stock, so definitely a penny stock. Have to buy it over the counter as an American investor unless you have access to the Canadian markets. Several things that I really like about NV Gold, first and foremost is that it's, Dr. Henney is involved. I always like investing in his properties, his projects. They're using or implementing the project generator business model. That's one of my favorite models in the mining space. This couple of months old. I haven't updated that, but anyway, joint venture with a producing miner. They're focused on Nevada. As American investors, that's always a good thing. We like to stay in safe jurisdictions, mining-friendly jurisdictions. Nevada has been mining-friendly for 100 years or more, so can't go wrong hard to go wrong in, let me correct that yet again. It is harder to go wrong than other jurisdictions. Tightly held, which says that of the shares that have been issued by the corporation, a relatively small percentage of those shares are available for trading, and part of that, the reason that occurs is, we can see here, management is holding up 20% of those shares. And in a lot of companies, just when you start comparing companies at this level, you'll find that management holds, 3%, 1.5%. It's like, that doesn't really inspire confidence that management is not willing to hold the shares of the companies that they're managing. So anyway, technical action, we've got price down here. I'd call this bottoming action along this pink line. That's the upper boundary of our, downward correction channel. Let's see, dealing with resistance at the 20-day moving average. MACD has given us a new buy signal and is rising. This is a very oversold level. So if you're into buying, you might call that value stocks. Obviously, you're taking a risk buying down at this level. Energy rising off of the, very depressed level. So again, if you're into penny stocks, that's one put on your candidate list. Dollyvarden, I think we looked at this a week ago, and I suggested that, this could be bottoming action. Dollyvarden has a nice land package, and then we got this bullish spike in price action last week. And then I was, looking here, it's like, okay, what is that on a percentage basis? And so if you look up here where you see the cursor, now I'm going to go back onto price. That's a 30% gain. And so again, in these penny mining stocks, one of the reasons that investors or speculators trade the mining stocks is because of these volatile moves. That's 30%. I didn't take any new I didn't take a new position in Dolly last week based on my own advice. I should have followed my own advice. There's a 30% gain in a week. So, but anyway, that's why one of the reasons that we invest in the mining stocks. Now, so for more conservative investors or for investors who are limited to the U.S. markets, here's Alexco. Not really doing anything exciting. We're in the monthly time frame, just sideways consolidation, nothing really going on. From a long-term investor perspective, I'm involved in Alexco because I like what they're doing. They've got a nice land package. They've got a good story. I believe in this company long term. And on top of that, when we get a sector-wide rally in the precious metals, this stock is going to run because it's a U.S. listed silver stock, regardless of the fact that fundamentally it's a good company, in my opinion. Newfound Gold, 62% pullback. Now we're getting a bounce off that level. When I looked at the Newfound chart this morning, I wanted to, or what it reminded me of is some of the other mining stocks that have done well over the years. And so this is Kirkland Lake Gold. Here it was at $1.50 back in, that's 2015. Today it's Friday, it closed at $42.74. And so, that's the potential for the mining stocks that really do well. I would suggest that Newfound Gold is one of those stocks. Here it is at $3.50. I would suggest that in a few years, we'll be looking at Newfound Gold's chart and it will look something like that. Another chart, this one obviously has more volatility than wheat or Kirkland Lake does, but wheat and precious metals, here it is at $3 a share back in 2005, and it closed Friday on $46 a share. So, as a long-term investor in the mining stocks, that's what I'm looking for. These are the, what is that, a 10 bagger, a 15 bagger? That's a 15 bagger, It doesn't take too many 15 baggers to make a significant difference in your capital position. So Altamira Gold, this is another Quentin Henney property. Very nice action. This is the daily time frame. So here we are, sideways consolidation, and then Thursday, Friday, big gap higher, continuation, follow through on Friday. Price closing, if that's not on its high, it's very near its high. Look at this accumulation distribution. So in contrast to Gato Silver, where we saw accumulation distribution steadily falling lower, here we have accumulation distribution steadily climbing higher. Investors, for whatever reason, are choosing to accumulate this stock. They're hanging on to this stock. They're not letting it go after they buy it. So just a difference to that. I'm going to continue rolling. SK sideways action. No real change there since the last time we looked. Loro, this is the monthly time frame. Very bullish candle there. I looked this morning, Dragonfly Doji. That's a Dragonfly Doji when you get that big long tail or lower whisker and then the open and close high. And there again, look at the accumulation distribution on this thing. Investors clearly interested in hanging on to this stock. Energy elevated, MACD in bull mode on about it out 321. This is a go-to resource. If you're interested in mining stocks, just go look at Bob's work. This is Bob Moriarty's site. He also contributes content. So here he is. That was, I think that was Thursday. And he's talking about Loro. And so one of the things that, let's just take a quick look at that. One of the things that Bob does with both gold and silver properties, he's doing it with Loro, which is a silver property. He's putting a dollar value or a potential dollar value on drill results. And so, he's talking about this one drill hole that Loro just provided results from, potentially worth $6 billion. One drill hole. And so, how many $6 billion drill holes does it take before a stock does something interesting? And so anyway, Loro is a definitely on your candidate list. If it's not, it should be or could be. And again, 321, that's a go-to resource if you're interested in mining stocks. Go read that article. Bob's always got good stuff to say. I like Bob. Been following the mining, well, and not just following the mining sector, he's been involved in the mining sector. He's been on 400 plus visits to mining properties. Bob is the real deal when it comes to mining, in my opinion. So pay attention to Bob. Let's see what else is there. And then in this section of his site, he does, this is the aggregator model in internet terms. So in this section of his website, he is aggregating news from the news flow of mining companies. And so we can see here's a Loro talking about this drill result at Iska. That's their property. White Rock Minerals, that's another property in my portfolio. They do good things. I like their business model. Novo, this is the Hedgeless Horseman talking about Novo Resources. And Hedgeless Horseman, that's Eric Ketterling, I believe is his name, and he does just great work. And so I always encourage time well spent to go look and see what Eric has to say. He explains the potential for Novo and points out that, you know, they took a risk by acquiring the Nullagine mill. You know, it became available because timing of the previous company. The previous owner declared bankruptcy. The mill was available. Quentin stepped up to the plate, took the risk and bought that mill. He's now a producing miner, but, you know, new producers have struggles to deal with. And so anyway, you know, Eric does an excellent job of explaining the potential for Novo. And then, you know, we also get some nice commentary after Eric's articles. And so it gives some insight into what are people concerned about, what do investors think about when they look at Novo as a potential investment. So here's Novo stock. You know, again, nothing exciting. I'm a long-term holder, so there's nothing here that makes me want to do anything different with Novo. So other than, you know, potentially go buy some more. Avino, this is another one. It's a U.S. listed silver mining stock. When the sector rallies, this stock will rally along with it. Here's the potential. You know, we can see when we got this was the short squeeze in silver, Avino spiked all the way up to $2.80, almost $3 a share. So from this level, that would be a 300% gain. Hannon, you know, I'm waiting for it to perform, and, you know, based on the action in the metals last week, it didn't really do anything exciting, and so it motivated me to go look at their news flow. It's like, okay, what are they doing? Because, you know, again, right now I've got more than 50 different stocks in my portfolio, and I don't recommend that. It's way too many stocks to manage, unless that's all you want to do is to manage a portfolio of mining stocks. So anyway, here's Hannon's news flow, and we can see, let's see, exercising warrants, exploration, LiDAR radar. That's a form of radar. So they're doing flyover exploration of their property, their land package. This was the reminder that I needed. So they've got a huge land package, and huge to the point of they are in the top 10. So of the land holders in Peru, Hannon is in the top 10, which as a junior miner, that's a unique position to be in. This is a copper-silver property, and in the current environment, with all of the push towards green energy, electric vehicles, solar panels, etc., and all the wiring that involves, copper is a interesting investment. And so here's Hannon. We get both copper and silver in one package, the same package. Penny stock, obviously, at 20 cents at this point, 21 cents. I've gone way too long this morning, folks. Have a fantastic day.